Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn to overcome adversity, depict fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Welcome, guys, to another great week. We have what I think is going to be an amazing, heartfelt story from an amazing guest who is willing to share with us things that most people, I think, are afraid to talk about. And it really goes a long way when someone's willing to open up about these kinds of things. So I am excited to welcome to the show Stephanie Luares. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Well, it's great to be here today. I'm excited to share and have some great conversation.
Yeah, I love the people that want to come on and share their stories about how they lost weight or overcome adversity, because even though maybe it's not so much of like a learning experience, it really motivates you to get up and go. So these are by far my favorite episodes, just to be honest. So I'm going to just full out and go on and start mentioning it. You lost, and I'm going to repeat this, 200 pounds, not 20, 200. Is that correct?
Yes, over 200.
Over 200. What's our final total right now?
So honestly, I don't know the total because I don't weigh myself anymore.
Fair enough. I always tell my clients that the scale's out the window anyway, so.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at with my clients is you go by how you feel.
So I want you to take us back to when you would say you were at your worst and what happened at that point, which got you to continue to want to start this journey.
Well, the original start was I was put on my first diet at 5 years old. So there's the start to the story. I'm a person that's been overweight my entire life. So you can't tell me there's a diet under the sun that I haven't been on. I'm great at losing weight, but I'm a champion at gaining it back plus interest. I've gained and lost hundreds and hundreds of pounds in my life. And about 7-8 years ago, I had reached my highest weight. I was done dieting. I had no intention of ever starting another diet in my life because clearly it didn't work. But at the same time, I was also miserable. And something had to change. I didn't know what it was, but something had to change. And so by the outward look of life, things looked pretty good. I was the administrator of a pretty well-known international organization and managing employees, doing all the things, but I wasn't happy. And so just looking at not only my physical health, but my emotional health and my spiritual health, I was just getting by. And you look at all the personal development and the self-help and everything. Everybody always talks about goal setting and the SMART goals and all that. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to drink water because I wasn't drinking water. I drink coffee, I drink soda, I drink all the other things. So I'm going to drink water. But for me, it wasn't going to be like these crazy gallon water challenges or anything like that because I knew it was something I would fail. And so I started with this little 6-ounce cup of water. And I had this little piggy kitchen timer. The old school kitchen timers that make this obnoxious sound when they go off. And I had it in my office. And every time that kitchen timer went off, I'd have to walk to the other end of the office building, fill it up at the water cooler, and come back. And so it started cultivating that habit of getting water throughout the day. So then as I established that habit, it was, okay, what can I do next? I've got getting this down. So then instead of feeding myself and my husband through the drive-through multiple times a day, I'm going to cook at home. Didn't matter what I was going to cook, but I was going to cook at home. After a while, it was, okay, let's maybe be conscious of some of the things I'm cooking a little bit better. So then just the water, being conscious of the foods I'm preparing, because of the size I was already starting to lose a little weight, feel a little bit better. And so I started to think, okay, maybe I'm ready for a little bit of movement. But being 200 pounds heavier on a very large body, I'm not a small person. I'll never be a very small person. I was pretty close to losing my mobility. So for me, the only practical exercise in my mind was walking. But like I said, that idea of exercise, I wasn't going to go very far. So I went to the end of the street and back. I thought I was going to die. And even the idea of putting on running shoes was too much. I did it in flip-flops. And I did it in flip-flops for a long time. But it was end of the street and back, end of the street and back, then around the block, around the neighborhood, and kept going and going. And as that progressed, it came to, I wonder if I can run. Now, again, it was, I ran to this stop sign, thought I was going to die, but in that, something flipped. And I thought about, I got to figure out this fat girl running thing because I really liked that. And I'm a kid that faked sick in gym class, so figuring out running was a very foreign concept to me. But from there was this goal setting thing, this little small steps of figuring out how can I bring this movement into life in a really small way. So building up to 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. I've jumped over now into long course triathlon, preparing for Ironman triathlons. Now, I don't expect anybody to do that kind of craziness. But through this process of going from a 6-ounce cup of water to running marathons, my body has just come along for the ride. I never set out to intentionally lose weight, nor have I ever pursued intentional weight loss in the process. It's always been about what are the habits that I'm putting in place to feel better.
I want to couple mentions here. First, just full disclosure to everyone listening to video. I know we got a couple of glags. We're recording during a blizzard, so that's fun. But on top of that, you mentioned SMART goals right off the get-go. And for those that have listened to me drill it into your heads over the last 2 years about how small steps can go a long way. And we didn't like meet up earlier in life, and I wasn't like, Stephanie, do SMART goals. She did this on her own and took those little victories that might have seemed so minute to some people that they eventually stack over time. And that's when you're able to hit a bigger goal. And thank you for just solidifying something I've been saying for 2 years and heckling my audience about setting SMART goals. So I really appreciate you for that.
But, it's the God's honest truth. I mean, it is the way to sustainable change. It's the thing that we look at study after study is it's not the grand sweeping New Year's resolution, the I'm going to start on Monday, that I'm going to start at that magical date on the calendar and overhaul everything in life. It's that one little thing that I can do right now that I can do over and over and over again, that has that ripple effect, is what creates that massive change.
like things is easy, and I'm going to give two little examples off of this, not to harp, and then we'll kind of move on. But the first one is kind of what you said with fitness and health. It could be as simple as I'm going to walk then to my driveway and back, or it could be as simple as I'm going to add one apple to my meals, or it could be a business related goal, which people always are complaining about money, which is the same thing. If I made $1 extra a day over a year, that's $365. Over 2 years, that's over $700. 3 years, it's $1,400. You kind of get the math. Just that dollar extra, which seems so minute, can end up stacking and have long-term impacts over your life. It's the same thing with everything in life. Short-term goals create long-term success. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And I want to take this point to ask you some questions that I think are going to be impactful for a lot of people, because we all know somebody. I mean, we all know people who are overweight, but we all know somebody who's 200, 300 pounds overweight. It's different.
It's
And
very different.
everyone can fluctuate 15, 20 pounds overweight. It happens. Life gets in the way, whatever. But when you hit that certain excess of weight,
Mhm.
it's more, and this is my understanding, and I want you to talk about this further. It's more of a mental health
Mhm.
as opposed to the physical side of it. So, what was the mental health like when you were out there, and why didn't the realization of, hey, I need to do these smaller things in life and I'm okay with being mostly immobile? What happened during those times?
For me, it was, well, I think I also need to back up and share that I also have done a lot of work with my emotional and mental health. I, in addition to being a person that has struggled with my weight my entire life, I have also struggled with my mental health. I've struggled with depression and anxiety. I also have PTSD. And so, with that, there is a lot of things that we use food as a coping mechanism. So, when we take food out of the equation, you realize that you have to deal with your crap. And so, the in addition to, I had realized there's something has to change and I'm unhappy. I was over here realizing that, okay, there's probably some other things that I need to do. In what do I have to do to shore up my emotional health? And so, with setting up that those SMART goals, what are the little things I'm doing to get support? Because the realist, the realistic thing in our country is mental health care is not always accessible. It's not always affordable. And sometimes we aren't always willing to do the footwork to get the right fit. So for me, it was finding support in other ways, with friends, with community groups, with support groups, and different people that built me up. And as a person in a larger body, that is 10 times scarier because you feel judged in any setting you walk into because you don't look like everybody else. And so if you're already feeling out of place and not feeling well mentally, then you compound that that out of placeness on top of it. there's that whole other emotional component that you're working with too. And so there, that physical change and that emotional change, it has to work in tandem. And you really need to have a solid support system in place to succeed. That's really what comes into play at the end of the day.
I just want to point out, for those listening to audio, you can kind of hear it, but watching you talk about this, you really see how much of an impact it had on your life, and how, like, I can see you trying to hold back certain emotions, and that just kind of shows how difficult it is, and how people need to be more wary of somebody in that shoes. And I have more specific questions, because I think they really go a long way. But first, I just wanted to get a quick break for our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Thank you to our sponsor, Hydrating Hydration Electrolyte Powder Drink Packets. Started in the midst of the pandemic, the founder of Hydrating Hydration, a frontline healthcare worker, started developing constant headaches. A landmark research study published early during the pandemic showed that 81% of frontline healthcare workers developed new headaches, mainly because of their PPE, which prevented them from eating and drinking properly while on the job. He would leave work tired, dehydrated, and burnt out. The founder looked for a healthy drink with all the necessary vitamins and minerals, but with no sugar. But most powdered drinks in the market have a ton of sugar and caffeine. That's why he created Hydrating Hydration, sugar-free, plant-based, antioxidant-rich electrolyte powder packets for daily use, containing all essential vitamins and minerals with a refreshing taste. Their product contains elderberry, which is known to have immune-boosting properties, especially during the cold and flu season. Hydrating Hydration electrolyte powders can also fit in your bag or suitcase when traveling, and are super convenient just to carry around and have with you day to day. So if you're having trouble with eating and drinking healthy during your busy day and want a great alternative to other high sugar hydration companies, then give Hydrating Hydration a try. There are 30 of these great electrolyte powder packets in a pouch, perfect for a 1 month supply. You can visit www.hydratingHydration.com. That's www.hydranique hydration.com. It's the word hydration and unique mashed together. Or search Hydranique Hydration on Amazon, where they are offering a $10 discount coupon at checkout. Anyway, guys, links in the bio. Please go check them out. Thank you again to our sponsor, Hydranique Hydration. I drink these packets almost every single day. They also have a ton of great vitamins and nutrients in them, including vitamin C, the elderberry mentioned, magnesium, and zinc. So even if you have a little night out with too many drinks, or you had a really good workout, because I hope that's the reason, grab one of these packets today, pick it up. Now back to the show. Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. We have Stephanie on, talking about this amazing journey and the mental issues and struggles that she went through, which I really think you guys are going to learn a lot from. So I'm going to ask you, Stephanie, all right? And I want you to be honest with somebody that is close to you, right? A family, friend, whatever it may be, or somebody else that's in a similar situation. Do you want others to reach out and offer help, or is it something that you need to figure out on your own?
You need to figure it out on your own. It's great when people have resources and referrals, and absolutely, we want those things when we're ready for them. But from a very young age, I had so many well-meaning people that love me and care for me, that offered this and that, and but it was never the right time, and it would hit the wrong way. And no one is going to change. No one is going to take a step for themselves until they're ready. And if you have a loved one that you have a concern for, that you have that genuine interest to be that support for, have the conversation. Be open and just be like, hey, this is what's up. This is what I have available, but I'm not going to push it on you. If you're ever in a position where you want to talk about it, where you want to approach this, then just know I'm here. Just leave the door open for that person so they know it's available, but don't make it seem like you're driving them in that direction. Because if it ever seems like it's forced, I don't feel like anybody's ever going to succeed.
Just in addition to that, because that was a really good answer, was should we just assume, I'm trying to word this and it's so difficult because it's such a hard conversation, but should we just assume that person knows that they're killing themselves? Because I know people, because it's in my field, that don't do anything about it, and they've type 2 diabetes, they're 200 pounds overweight, they're getting limbs taken off, and they're not understanding that they're killing themselves. Like, do people need to be told, or do you just know?
They know.
They know.
People aren't stupid. People know the consequences of their actions. And the reality is, nobody owes another person their health. We have the autonomy to make the decision of what our health outcomes are. And that is one of the most difficult things for people to realize, especially when it comes to the fat community, is that there's an expectation that fat people want to be thin, and that there's certain outcomes, that health outcomes that people are pursuing. And we get carried away a lot of times with assumptions that people don't know the consequences of their actions. We hear it all the time from people, from the media, from the doctors, from everybody and their brother, from the people on the street that make the rude comments. You know the consequences of your actions, whether it's positive or negative. But when it comes down to the end of the day, your health outcomes are your decision, and it's your choice, the action you're going to make. And that's a hard thing for some people to swallow sometimes.
What you just said, I don't know if you know how impactful that is compared to what's going on now.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing. An example I've brought up time and time again, where it's someone's decision to do something for themselves is their decision. They hear it from everybody, but it's not the government's or friends' decision to say, this is what you need to do, or you get out. It's your decision to take your own health into your own hands, whether it's being that kind of overweight or smoking cigarettes or doing drugs. I mean, like, that's,
Mm-hmm.
And if you want the help, there is help there, and there should always be help available to those people when they are ready and want it. A common question that I know a lot of people think all the time is, well, stop going to McDonald's 20 times a day, eat one less burger. Like, is there truths to, like, getting that much overweight to where it's kind of intentional, where I know some people who are so depressed that they intentionally consume extra calories to intentionally be overweight to make themselves more depressed. And it's that negative feedback loop that they're in a mental state that makes it worse. The same thing you see with other mental illnesses, and they just don't want to be happy, or they don't want to be anxiety free. They think they do, but they really subconsciously don't. They feel like they deserve, and you hear this a lot, I deserve to be depressed. I deserve to be anxious. I deserve to live in a 300-pound body. I deserve to die at a young age. Can you walk us through this a little bit more, and then we'll move on from it?
Well, there's a lot of different factors that contribute to what you just said. When it comes to body size, so many different things play into it. Genetics, mental health, food availability and accessibility. You can have two people that eat the exact same foods in the exact same ways and have two completely different body sizes. The example I always give that drives me nuts is you have somebody that you see the meme all over social media about consuming only sugar and they're going to end up with diabetes. Well, the number one cause of type 2 diabetes is not sugar consumption, it's genetics. You aren't going to give yourself diabetes by consuming too much sugar. We all need carbohydrates to run the systems of the body. And there's so many different contributing factors to body size, to eating disorders, whether it's binge eating disorder or the way that people consume food around mental health in so many different ways. And so to even make different assumptions, we really get to this place of putting people in boxes. Even the drive-through, sometimes that might be the only complete meal somebody might get in a day. There's a lot of things that play into how we get our food, how we source our food, and where things come from. And we only see one side of it.
Yeah, I think it's really like the old saying, walk in somebody else's shoes for a day.
Exactly.
You'll see things at a different point. I liked one of the things you said where everyone's different, and genetics do play the most important role to determine what you're going to look like. And it's true. People, you're like, it's definitely going to happen. But the only thing I don't agree with, because I always bring up these points, is yes, genetics is the underlying role for type 2 diabetes, but also it is way more likely you will get type 2 diabetes from consuming a lot of sugar. You need sugar. I'm not against it, but having soda every single day, which is 40 to 50 grams per serving, plus everything else that has extra added sugar to it. So you're getting, and if some people drink, no joke, like 500 to 600 extra grams of sugar a day. That's going to cause type 2 diabetes. So it's just like a little bit, that's the only thing I kind of disagree. But I love the story about it and not being happy in your own body, because it's true. Some people just aren't meant to be thin. No matter how hard they push themselves or how they work out, they're always going to have that excess weight. And then I see it on the flip side where some people have the worst habits in the world and they're thin as a rail.
Right.
Because it's just genetics playing an underlying role to their body. So I definitely agree with that. But moving kind of on a little bit, because I always do this, I get too into a conversation and time just goes so fast.
I know it.
When you started going through those small victories, right? And you
Mhm.
started seeing success. Act like you're talking to somebody, and I know you do this, so it'd be very easy for you, that's in a similar situation as you. What kind of advice are you giving that person to help them out?
You need to live in today. And what are you doing in today that is helping you feel how you want to feel? And because that's my favorite question is how do you want to feel? That covers so much. It covers that physical health. It covers that emotional health. Really looking at that whole person. And in how you want to feel, what are the things you can be doing today? It helps you to really ground and be in this moment because it's so easy to project into the future. What does my results look like a week, a month, a year, 5 years down the line? And get this picture in our mind and potentially live in the disappointment when you get there. And the example that I give is if you had asked me what I would have envisioned my body to look like if I had lost 200 pounds, it's not what my body looks like now. I while I love the fact that I am strong, that I am capable, that my body is flexible and strong and moves in ways that it never has in my life, that I am smaller than I have ever been in my life. Through the process of losing such a dramatic amount of weight, I wouldn't have ever envisioned the body that I have now because I have things like sagging skin and the things that you don't think about. So you have that kind of almost that collateral damage that you have to now start to re-image. Well, what does life look like? What does my body look like? How do I accept myself as I am now? So it's being in that present moment and what can I do today to feel good in my body today and use it at its best capacity.
I love that. That was amazing. I have nothing to add to that. That was absolutely perfect, and I couldn't agree more. I have one more question before we move on to the final two, just like a little self thought, because as my listeners know, I also suffered with depression. But how do you feel about affirmations?
Affirmations, all for it.
All four. What are some affirmations that you gave yourself to this journey, or you'd recommend for some people?
My number one affirmation is I will always find a way and anything is possible.
I love that. So, moving on to our last two questions that I always ask everyone. If you were to summarize this episode into a couple sentences at best, what are your takeaways?
Oh, my takeaways. My goodness. You know, really number one is just being that place of open and honest with yourself that change is possible, but it's breaking things down to the smallest bit to move forward in those small goals because they have that big ripple effect. That health is a choice and you got to make it for yourself.
That's amazing. All right. Last question. I know we didn't talk about it much, so go ahead and take as much time as you need to talk about how you go ahead and help people and how can they find you, get a hold of you, because you are just an absolute inspiration. So go for it.
All right. Well, I work with people both individually, groups, and with businesses. I do personal training and nutrition coaching, a marrying of the two in a lot of different ways. You can find that on my website, Heart and Soul, SOLE fit.com. I'm on all the social media networks at various iterations of heartandsoulfitness.com or Heart and Soul Fitness. And so I just, look me up. I'm around and I would love to interact with you. I do offer a free consultation to see if my services are right for you, or if not, I do have a huge referral network that I work with a lot of different health and wellness professionals to really make sure that you have the right fit on who you work with, because that communication is so important. So you can find that on my website, Heart and Soul, SOLE fit.com.
So true. Another truth right there. If you don't connect with the person you're working with, it isn't going to work. I am Mr. Personality, so somebody cannot take my personality. It will not work no matter how good I am. So definitely love that. You have a huge referral network. That is amazing. And
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, this is super relevant. Fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you can do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference.